All right, turning now to the war in Ukraine and a second day of brutal fighting as Russian tanks now roll toward Kyiv. Overnight, Russian forces closing in on the capital with explosions rocking the city. Ukrainian's president saying at least 137 Ukrainians have died. The U.S. and key allies striking back with severe sanctions. President Biden also ordering another 7,000 troops to support NATO forces.
Putin is the aggressor. Putin chose this war, and now he and his country will bear the consequences.
President Biden also ordering another 7,000 troops again to support those forces. We will continue to follow this and bring you updates as we get them from that part of the world. Now, the emotional toll of the Russian invasion is hitting home here in Hampton Roads. We go live now to Alex Littlehales, where a demonstration in downtown Norfolk is starting to wrap up. Alex.
Yeah, Ashley, Bethany, as we've seen, everyone across the country, or really across the world, is paying attention to this international story. It is on the top of everyone's minds. And, as you can see behind me, this is not just an international story. This is a story that affects people right here in these local communities. In the past hour or so, dozens and actually close to more like 100 people have gathered here at Waterside Drive. You can actually see the crowd sort of moving more toward the Waterside district here along the water. We have seen demonstrations like this across the country over the last couple of days as fighting has escalated in the country of the Ukraine. And when you talk to these demonstrators here, there is simply just a fear amongst them. A lot of these people that have showed up today are not just of Ukrainian descent, they are Ukrainian immigrants. I talked to one gentleman just a couple moments ago, 2 young daughters of Ukrainian descent, and it's hard for him to sort of explain exactly the conflict that is going on overseas. And other folks that you talk to here, they have friends and family still in the country, unable to get out, even though they're trying to evacuate. Take a listen.
It's the hardest thing in my life. I'm trying to be strong because I cannot imagine what they deal. My family, all my friends, all Ukrainian people.
And back live here, as I mentioned a couple of moments ago, you can see the crowd moving toward the Waterside district along the waterfront of Norfolk, and some of the demonstrators have told me that they're putting their heads together to try to get some kind of relief sent over to the country. In Norfolk, I'm Alex Littlehales for 13 News Now.
All right, thanks, Alex. Well, rallies breaking out across the world now. Anti-war protests have begun across Russia, and hundreds of people have been arrested. ABC's foreign correspondent James Longman is in Moscow with the latest.
I was out here on the streets in Moscow last night as hundreds of people went out to protest the decision to invade. There's been a small but significant opposition across the country, at least 1,700 arrests so far in more than 50 cities. We watched riot police pulling people into armored trucks, many of them just students who were desperate to show they did not agree with their president's war. It's worth underlining just how dangerous it has become to protest in Vladimir Putin's Russia. There haven't been this number of people on the streets since the arrest of opposition activist Alexei Navalny last year. But Putin's support is strong, especially among the oligarchs who have prospered under his watch. The richest men in Russia actually met yesterday with their leader in a show of unity. But the reality is their wealth is being hit. The stock index here has had one of the worst days in history as a result of sanctions. It's rallied a bit now, but initially they lost between them $39 billion in less than 24 hours. Russia has said it has now prepared a retaliatory package of sanctions against the West. Now, they do hurt ordinary people, of course, but the US tactic is to target those closest to Putin. The problem so far is that nothing seems to be dissuading him. James Longman, ABC News in Moscow.